Hello and welcome to another video. So I'm a bit behind on the Wonderland Dreams expansion card reveals, but now that I'm back and I'm able to do some videos, I thought why not get into this. So we're going to do this in probably two parts here. So the first part's going to be 4 of the classes. I think we've got Forest, Sword, Shadow and Rune, and then the second part will be the Blood, Dragon, Haven and neutral cards. So I think that's how we're going to do this. Alrighty, so we'll get right into the cards here. So, the first card I've got here, Woodland Band, Forest card, 3 cost amulet, not too bad. I don't mind the 3 cost range amulets normally. The end of your turn, give all allied followers +2/+2 if at least 4 other followers with different names are in play, then destroy this amulet. So, this is a tricky little one, honestly. I mean, you get the advantage because you're the one who gets to schedule out its play. And it might work well in an aggro forest build with a nice amount of early 1-drops, because you can go Elf Child May, Water Fairy, a normal fairy, and any other drop pretty much, and then just have this on board on 3. I don't know, you could probably work this in quite well. The 4 different names is going to be a little difficult, but it's definitely an interesting card, and I probably work that in somewhere. So the next one is Abby the Axe Girl. Still Forest, obviously. We've got a 2 cost 2/2 silver. Okay. The art's pretty sweet. I don't mind the little bear. Pretty adorable. So we've got Clash, gain +2/+0 until the end of turn. So Clash is great. Clash activates before battle damage is taken, meaning you basically have 4 attack the entire time. The only difference it will be for cards that affect attack, obviously. Other than that, that's not really too bad at all. You know, the evolve into a 4/4. I don't know whether it's going to be that great a card for Forest, but it definitely opens up different kind of play style. Probably more of an attack, boost and drop kind of style deck, maybe. Definitely interesting. The next we have Elf Twins Assault, 2-drop gold spell. Also Forest, obviously, you know, first few cards are all Forest. Deal X damage to 2 random enemy followers, X equals the number of neutral cards in hand. So they're really pushing neutral with this expansion, which isn't too big a surprise. With last expansion, we kind of expect to see more neutral support coming. And these Elf Twins look exactly like Rem and Rin from ReZero, so that's really quite entertaining. But I don't really mind this card too much. It's a good little removal card, especially in a neutral Forest deck, and will work quite well. Then we got Magic Fairy Lilac. So we got a 3-drop 1/4. Clash, destroy the enemy follower, then remove this follower's clash ability. So it's basically 1 free kill. Kind of like Medusa, I guess, but it only works once. So you ram it, or they ram into you, they're destroyed, and then you lose your clash ability. Not too bad though. I'd actually be really curious as to whether the Clash carries over with Evolve, because the Evolve says Clash as well. So I don't know whether when you evolve it you regain the Clash ability, or whether it is a permanent loss. It'd be interesting to see which way that goes. So we got Rune cards. First one is Witch of Sweets, a 2-drop witch. Okay, 2/2. Seems like the two cost 2 attack 2 defense stat line is pretty popular for most of their cards. Seems to be their easy average. Fanfare, draw a card if the number of neutral cards in your hand equals or exceeds the number of Runecraft cards in your hand. Not too bad. Pushing another neutral craft deck. So you combo this in to probably draw into more neutral craft cards while running minimalistic Rune cards. I really am going to experiment a lot with neutral Rune, I feel. I'm really interested in pushing that as an archetype, especially with Ginger and other cards, so be entertaining. So one of our weirder style cons, just because of the way that this card was revealed, but we've got Mysteria Grimoire. So it's a 3-drop 1/2. The stat line isn't great, but its ability is what you're really looking for here. Fanfare, draw 2 cards at the end of your turn. Discard all spells in your hand. So you're pushing a more follower-orientated deck, draw cards and get rid of spells. So unless we see more of a discard with Newt or something, like a card like Newt for Rune, I don't think we're going to see the discard effect be much. Other than that, it's definitely going to work in a follower-based deck, probably something close to Ginger, where you're mainly focused on drawing neutral followers and you're not worried about your spells. Other than that, this card's pretty average for its stat line. The 3/4 isn't a bad boost, obviously, with the double stat for 3, but other than that, definitely more for the draw power. Next, we have Wizardess of Oz. So, you know, the next wizard waifu for Rune. We have a 5-cost 4/5. Fanfare. Draw cards until there are 5 cards in your hand. Change the cost of spells without spell boost in your hand to 1. Last word, at the start of your turn, banish all spells in your hand. So its last word is a pain in the ass, losing like everything, and you can pretty much guarantee your opponent's going to try and clear that for that effect. So you really want to be playing this probably more to the late game, maybe in the mid game, and you can guarantee its survival. It would work out. So what, turn 5 evolves, 6, 7, basically it sits like a Sybil. Sybil most of the time is removed, and if we see more removal it's going to be hard to keep this thing stuck to the board. If you can stick it to the board, the spell effect for things without spell boost, such as Dance of Death and any other spell like that, will be crazy, but I get the feeling that you're probably going to want to be playing this turn 7 onwards, so you can have a couple of free spells, maybe in a low cost hand, something like that. So our next rune card, we have Carbuncle of Mysteria. If I pronounce these wrong, I apologise. Some of these pronunciations can just be shocking. So we have a 2-cost 2/1, so not great stat line. Last word, spell boost the cards in your hand, which is good. I do enjoy that, spell boost. Last word, spell boost at that, so you get that early game pressure along with the spell boost. And since it's cards and not spells, that's going to work really well in a follower-based deck, so we could probably see Daria run this pretty well. Not too bad at all. Now we're on to sword cards. So we have Old Man and Old Woman. Pretty nice little card art actually. It's a little different to some of the other arts, which I enjoy. So we've got a 3-cost 1/4, so you know, a high defensive card. Can attack 2 times per turn. So this is the card that we saw probably be really crazy for Swordcraft. It can attack twice per turn and its evolve gains Bane. So you get a double clear off the Bane on turn 4 if you play this, basically, because you're going to go for the evolve. The 5 stat line means that it's less likely to be killed by most things, so it can be really anti-aggro, but it can also be severely aggro for you, allowing you to do, you know, some easy damage. It is an officer, meaning if you're playing it in, say, a general deck, then you do get that storm as well without having to worry. I can just see this card being really versatile as an officer card. Probably fitting in a lot of aggro or anti-aggro style decks for different reasons, obviously. But we'll go on to the next card here. Council of Card Knights. So we have a gold 5-cost spell for sword. Summon a club soldier, a heart guardian, and a spade raider. So to my knowledge, all of those cards are... what are they called? Sorry, I'll move that out of the way so I can do this. All of those cards are... Yeah, I can't find what... I had it here before and now I can't find what I'm looking for it. Sorry. But I'm pretty sure they're basically like a 3/3, a 2/3, a, you know, basically a down stat line or something. So you end up with, I think it's a 3/3, a 2/2, and a 1/1 summon, I think. I can't be sure. But it's not a bad spell. It's basically just for board flood, not much else. So we'll go on to the next card here, Cinderella. So we have a 3-cost 4/4. This is the legendary, or one of the 2. Whenever another allied Swordcraft follower comes into play, return this follower to your hand. So it's a 3-cost 4/4. The stat line's crazy, you know. 3-cost 4/4 in value is huge, especially with a nice evolve. You can pull off that 6/6 for trades. Also, the fact that you can return it to hand under your own is amazing. So you just play another sword follower. So you could run this in so you could run this in a neutral deck with no sword followers as a 3-drop 4/4, have no return effect, or you can drop this in a sword deck as a 3-drop 4/4, and you can play around the return, so you can use it as a trade, and then you can pull it into your hand and replay it in the next couple turns. So it's got a lot of different options for this card. Really, there's a lot it can do. I can see it being played in more control than anything else, obviously, but definitely interesting me, this card. And it would work really nicely in support cannon too, as a commander. So our next card is Bladed Hedgehog, another sword card. A 2-drop 1/3. He's a little hedgehog that likes to eat swords. He's pretty adorable, honestly. I think he's the cutest little thing ever. Whenever an enemy follower is destroyed, gain a +1/+0. So basically, you're going to want to play this out when you've got, you know, maybe a quick blader or whatever else out. Kill some stuff, boost it. It's nice that your stuff doesn't have to die and that it's enemy stuff that dies. So that makes the value a lot nicer. Unlike some of, I think it was Shadow Reaper and a couple other cards like that, where things on your board had to die for it to be boosted. So I don't mind this little card. I think he'll fit into most aggro sword decks pretty nicely. Maybe even some control sword as a rampy sort of, not rampy, tempo-y sort of play. Be interesting. Anyway, we've got the next gold, 2-drop 2/2, Red Riding Hood. So no unevolve effect. Its evolve effect is destroy an enemy follower if an allied neutral follower is in play. Basically, it's a soul squasher with the requisite of having a neutral on board instead of the 4 shadows. That's pretty much it. It's just a sword version of soul squasher. Probably a little bit better because of the officer, and running in a neutral style deck could work. I think we're going to see a lot of like cross hybrid decks between neutral and the class, such as Rune and Sword, with certain cards like this, which will work really nicely. So can't wait to see what comes out of it. We also have Sword's second legendary. We believe this is a commander. It's not listed here on the reveal, but I believe that's what people have concluded. So Hero of Antiquity, an 8-drop 6/10 with an evolve for 8 to 12, so it's the standard 2 gain. Rush, can't be destroyed by enemy spells and effects, can't be destroyed by damage from effects or attacks. Can't be destroyed by damage from effects or attacks. Okay, so if that wording is correct, this card is practically immortal like Aegis. It can't be destroyed by spells and effects, and can't be destroyed by damage from effects or attacks. So it can't be... So how would you... Yeah, you can't kill this. You can drop it to 1 health and then it won't be killable. I suppose banishment, because it doesn't have a banishment prerequisite. It just says can't be destroyed, so you can banish this card. If there's any news about this card, leave it in the comments below. I'm really interested to know whether this card text is written right or whether I'm just misunderstanding it. I don't know if I could see a card with Rush like this being given to Sword. Like, Haven having the immortality thing's one thing, but Sword having one that needs to be banished as its only option would kind of suck. Especially when it's immune to attack damage. Well, not immune, but dropping it to 1. So you would have to attack it enough to put it within banishment range of most Haven banishes. It's the only way I can see this card being played around. Very interesting. Could see it running in control pretty easily. Maybe even a mid style. Interesting. So the next one we've got is Young Ogre Hunter Momo. So we've got Swordcraft Officer, obviously. Rush. You know, it's a 3-cost 2/2 Rush, so yeah, not too bad a stat line. Clash, gain Bane until the end of turn if the enemy follower has at least 5 attack. So those sort of effects I like, because Clash, like I said before, it takes place before the actual battle between 2 creatures. So it's between the declaring of the attack and the actual attack. So it means you're going to gain Bane, kill it off, and then pretty much die if it's a at least 5 attack, because this thing isn't going to survive 5 attacks, so it's pretty much just a free Bane. Unless you boost it, I suppose. That's one way it may survive, and then you could get advantage out of it that way. But otherwise, it's not too bad. Not the worst card. So we're on to the shadow cards now. We've got a 1-drop amulet, Haunted House, countdown 3. So we are starting to see countdown amulets become more popular in other classes other than Haven, which kind of feels a little shitty. Haven, you know, already lost its healing to Dragon for the most part. It's, you know, board clears are kind of still the best now because of Dragon's nerf to Lightning Blast, but other than that, Haven hasn't got much in the way of decent amulet stuff. Like, exclusive to its class, not like Vengeance and Spell Boost and stuff like that. So that kind of annoys me. But anyway, whenever an allied follower, excluding ghosts, is destroyed during your turn, summon a ghost. So it's like Catacombs effect, except you get a 1/1 ghost that banishes itself and has Storm. So basically kill off something, summon this, kill the ghosts, ram to face sort of thing, or trade for better value. I'm guessing that's how this will work. Also, using the unbanishable card, so it means your ghost would be destroyed, will gain you shadows and stuff, so this may end up being better. Who knows, we'll see how this goes. Usher of Strix, I think that's how you pronounce that. 2-drop 2/2, so the same stat line as most other 2-drops. Necromancy 6, put one of your highest cost followers that has been destroyed during this match into your hand. So it's just another return high cost card followers. We have other ones like this, it's just a different variation obviously. With a Necromancy 6, not too bad. I do enjoy the Necromancy cards, and I'm starting to see how having such high Necromancy costs are going to work. Like, Catacomb was a pain this last expansion, because we had a lot of low Necromancy effects. Now we're starting to get into the high ones, where we're probably going to need things like Catacomb to boost the shadows for these to actually work properly, without just having them be dead. On to the next card, Odile Black Swan. This is one of a pair, which goes with Odette White Swan, as you can tell by its fanfare effect. So it's a 6-cost 5/4, which I love its stat line, honestly. It's probably one of my favorite stat lines currently. We've got fanfare, summon an enemy White Swan, then evolve this follower. So this thing gets a free evolve, so it becomes a 6/5. At the end of your turn, deal 2 damage to all enemies. So it also adds a board clear component to it. I would bring up White Swan, but we'll wait till probably next video to do that. But White Swan is basically the opposite of this card. Its stat line is slightly different, but this thing I think has priority stat line, meaning this trades into White Swan better than White Swan trades into this, I believe. I can check that next video, but pretty sure that's the way it goes. So it's not too bad. It means you can basically play this, get the evolve, kill White Swan, all for free. So you're playing it on 6, it's evolving itself, so you're not paying the evolve cost. You're getting Rush, so you can trade into the White Swan. So you're left with, I believe, 1 or 2 defense. You then deal 2 damage to all your opponent's cards. So you get a board clear, pretty much. And you're left with a 6/1 or 6/2 follower, at least, which isn't too bad. I don't think it's that bad. I mean, it could be, I suppose the equivalent could be considered Dark John, whatever it is, Dark John for Haven, with the 2 damage to everything sort of thing, but not too bad. I don't mind this card at all. The next one is one of their legendaries, Dark Alice. You know, one of the main themes to this expansion being Wonderland, so we've got to have Alice. We've got Last Word, banish all allied Swordcraft cards. Sorry, Swordcraft. Shadowcraft, because, you know, S always confuse me. Anyway, Last Word, banish all allied Shadowcraft cards in play and summon a Dark Alice. At the start of your turn, or start of your next turn, banish all Shadowcraft cards in your hand and deck. Sorry, I want to make sure the effect is read properly, that's all. So it's a 7-cost 5/5. It's basically a better mod in the way that you can play it on 7, so it's cheaper. It has the same stat line. The downside is you want to be running this in a neutral deck, or a deck where you're running very few shadow cards, in my view, or just purely a deck where you want to thin the shadow cards so you can play big neutral cards later in the game. It's another way to do that. It's definitely going to have a lot of options. It's probably going to replace Mord in some decks. Probably not a NEP style deck, but definitely in other decks. Just because this is the Last Word effect, meaning, you know, you don't want NEP to banish all Shadowcraft cards in play and then summon a Dark Alice and then banish all the Shadowcraft cards in your next turn. That would be pretty horrible. But otherwise, this is pretty interesting and definitely going to be seen in neutral decks. So we've got, I believe this is the last card, another Shadowcraft card. We'll zoom in a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. Give all other allied neutral followers +1/+1. Deal 2 damage to all allied Shadowcraft followers. So this is another card that you will run in neutral Shadow, which will be huge, I reckon. I reckon neutral Shadow is going to be pretty big as a card, as a deck. Neutral Shadow, Neutral Rune, and Neutral Sword, I think, will be the top 3 neutral style decks with what we've seen so far. We may see others take up the mantle, but I believe they're going to be the 3 that really take advantage of neutrals. Dragon already takes care of neutrals, so I'm not too worried about categorizing that in there as well, but this for sure will push a very aggro style neutral deck. You know, the deal 2 damage to all shadow isn't going to be important when you're playing neutrals. And the +1/+1 is a huge boost, so that's really nice. I believe that is, yeah, that's the last card. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.